Trenches, forage drop zones are basically drop zones where you can dump straw, hay, and grass. One of the things we did on the Pleasant Valley version 3 map, I mean Fences map, is we made the grass so it only grows every 3 days. This requires the BGA owner to actually go around and plow the map much more so, or mow the map much more so than just around his own farm. That's why we provide him with drop places where he can put his hay and stuff and have it accessible back at the BGA facility in each of the corners of the map. So if he's mowing quite far away around somebody else's field, he can doesn't have to run all the way back to the BGA facility every time he gets a full load. He can go to the nearest one. And we're driving by the golf course. ATV World is no longer, for those of you who played Pleasant Valley 3. It was a hard decision, but we felt that it always would have the black screen errors. I don't know, when you got too close to a wall. That in single player it doesn't cause crashes, that you could easily tab between vehicles to get out of it, but in multiplayer mode you literally had to exit and restart your server. So we decided to get rid of it, and in the background you could see what has replaced it, which we will go there very shortly. Here is the Park Seed Company. Very simply, drop off any product that you grow here, and over time it will turn into seed. There's a gauge in the middle of each of the factories that tells you how much is in there. Drive any seeder or vehicle over this top of that little trigger inside the square, and it will fill up the tipper with the seed to be transported back to the farms. And up the road we have the central fertilizer. Again, it basically takes silage, liquid manure, and solid manure. You drive in, drop any of those products off, and at a 1-to-1 ratio it will create your chemical fertilizer, which can be again delivered to the farms. Now when we're playing in multiplayer mode, because of the limit of the number of people that actually can be on the server of 16, you can either assign that as a duty for someone to control. Say the pink farm, you have the fertilizer duty to make sure every farm has fertilizer, or you could do what we did, and we just assign a foreman to make sure that the products are there and that monitors it. If people want their fertilizer, they go and pick it up at the plant and bring it back to their own farms, but the foreman monitors to make sure that somebody's growing the products that are needed, and just lets everybody, hey, we need seeds. Does anybody have a seed crop, for instance? Or we need sorghum grown because the fuel plant is low on sorghum. And sometimes if nobody is growing it, he might have to utilize one of his fields and get some sorghum planted so the fuel supply doesn't run out. The Basin Gravel Company was born out of the need to make something else for ATV World that was more functional in the map. In the beginning, the Basin Gravel Company functions very simply as the outside of it. There is a building in the back that fills up automatically when you drive a vehicle. Well, we did leave these little bumps around the outside to kind of give you a feel for the old ATV world. You can still race around the gravel plant. This building here, you can drive a tipper underneath, it will fill it with gravel. What do you do with gravel? Well, on the map, which I did not show you because we went around on all the asphalt roads, on the gravel roads there are a new feature we put in to make it a little bit more interesting. The potholes. Basically, if you don't fill potholes in the gravel roads, you might not be able to pass. And the way the potholes work is like this. Each pothole takes a minimum of 20,000 gravel in order to fill it completely so it is passable without any bumps in the road. And the potholes do, here I'm looking for a pothole and I went the wrong way. The potholes do empty over time gradually. Actually, it's 25 gravel per minute, so if you want to calculate how long it is before a pothole is completely empty and completely impassable, you just got to divide the 20,000 gravel by the 25 a minute. But most likely you won't want to let the pothole get down more than a couple thousand because the road's going to get bumpy again and it might get a little bit hard to pass. So the potholes basically look like, we have one right up here, this hole in the road. This one here is pretty easy. We got some space on the side. You can get around it carefully with this Jeep, but it's a pretty big crater, and when you do get in there with many vehicles, you will get stuck. There's another one on this road right up here. You can put more than the 20,000 gravel into each pothole, and that will just keep it at maximum for a lot longer time. So say you put 50,000 into the pothole, that plane that raises up and covers the pothole will not start moving for several days until it gets below the 20,000. Here's the entrance to the gravel pit. Inside the gravel pit, we'll have to unlock it for us first. It costs 100,000. Boom. We can now get inside the gravel pit, and we will have access to a new product called sand. And what do we do with sand? Sand is used in combination with the gravel and water to the final premium plant, which is down in the gravel pit. You supply those three items to the mill down here. Here's the sand conveyor. You can get your sand right there. Once you get your sand and the gravel from the outside and water from the orange property, because the orange is the only access for water, that's property's special ability, you deliver them to here. There's the gravel gauge on the wall. There's where the gravel goes. Over here, we have underneath the sand conveyor a place to dump the sand, and we fill over here by the water a place to dump water, and we can drive a trailer under here and pick up gold. Gold sells at the bank for a very large amount of money, but it takes a lot of sand, gravel, and water to constantly keep this plant filled and create a little bit of gold. One last note about the gravel pit is that it was our full intention to have piles of sand and piles of gravel that you could dig your excavators into. Unfortunately, we have not yet found a way to do that on server play. We do, however, have a way to do it on single player mode. Finally, the server has been created with performance in mind. And let me tell you, a 15 player server with everybody having their own vehicles does tend to have issues when you get to about close to 400 pieces of equipment on a standard server. We'll start to get that lag and skipping. We receive it about 380 on ours, so we do have to implement rules as the game progresses, and that is why we have a couple signs over here with very simple rules, and I'll explain what those farm equipment limits: one trailer per farm, one seeder, one combine, one Dutes Ropa, which is another type of combine, and one semi-truck. We don't want people to have whole fleets of trucks. It's not necessary. You want and whole tandem trailer lines of 3 or 4 behind each vehicle. Those are the types of things that will lag out a server. We do not allow mixing vehicles on the farms because we want people to utilize the mixing station to get their mixed feed for all their barns, which is on the east side of the map. The mixing station takes your standard products, wheat, windrow, grass, windrow, silage, and converts it into mixed ration, just like the placeable mixing stations, but it's built into the map, and we recommend you not using the placeables, so because again it makes the community work together. Again, on the rule sign, sales can only be done when selling prices listed in the yellow on the PDA or on great demand. Well, great demand prices are now listed in yellow, or are still in green, and sometimes they do not fall above the price that's in there because we have the multipliers on them that are randomized. So you can still sell under great demand. And our last rule was try to limit your equipment to what is necessary for you to operate the farm. The fewer vehicles on the server, the better it runs. In the beginning, when you're starting out, you probably will not have to worry about equipment limits, and different people will progress at different stages. We really haven't found many limit problems with placeable objects. People can place 20 greenhouses. It doesn't seem to affect server performance. So if you want to put greenhouses on your property, or breeding farms, or silos, that does not seem it is to affect the performance as much as objects, vehicles that move and vehicles that carry product, and bales. Bales definitely create lag issues. Therefore, we do not allow baling on our multiplayer map. We do allow baling, but bales have to be removed and brought to one of the appropriate facilities for disposal after you are done. You can bring them to the bale to manure exchange place to change them into manure, or you can bring them to the mixing station to fill the mixing station. Just keep in mind a lot of bales on the map will affect your server performance. And that's pretty much it for this introductional video. The next video I will do will concentrate solely on the operation of the factories, and then we will have one on the individual farms. And the release date is set from about a week from the making of this video. So have a nice day, and I hope you enjoy Pleasant Valley Fences, and see you again soon.